Hello everyone, and welcome to the follow-up video for my first video in the series of correcting the patriarchal tarot to astrology associations. So in that first video, just as a quick recap, I talked about how the tarot card for Aries is the Emperor, and the tarot card for Gemini is the Lovers. And so with Taurus being the very first feminine sign on the zodiac wheel and also the first earth sign, it only makes sense that that card is the Empress. So the correct card for Taurus is the Empress. I'm not going to go over the whole discussion as to why, but there's already my first video. That's what it was, and so go check that out. But so we took the Empress from Venus, which that's where traditional tarot has the Empress is as the card for Venus. And while the Empress is ruled by Venus, she is not Venus. Okay, so we took that card from Venus, we brought it down, and we kicked out the Hierophant. So in traditional tarot, the Hierophant is the card associated with Taurus, which makes absolutely no sense unless you're talking about the Pope, who is trying to have dominion or rule over the earth, right? So the Pope is going to have dominion over the earth. Yes, in a patriarchal system, this is exactly where the Pope would be with Taurus. But no, the Empress is without a doubt the correct card for the sign of Taurus. So you've got Aries the Emperor, Taurus the Empress, Gemini the Lovers, and Cancer the Chariot, which is a symbol for the Merkaba being the six-pointed star. When the divine feminine and the divine masculine merge, they create the six-pointed star, which is the Merkaba, the vehicle for the soul, the home of the soul. It all makes sense, okay? So if the Hierophant doesn't belong to Taurus, where does it go? Well, first of all, we need to know what the Hierophant means. All right, Hierophant is an ancient Greek word, and it was constructed from the combination of ta, hiera, meaning the holy, and pheno, meaning to reveal. So Hierophant means to reveal the holy, or the revealer of the holy. So it's a person who brings religious congregants into the presence of that which is deemed holy, or an interpreter of sacred mysteries and arcane principles. Okay, so it's a good thing that the Rider-Waite tarot deck used the term Hierophant, because it gave us the appropriate place to start, whereas to, like, what is this person? The Tarot de Marseille used the term the Pope, right, which is the term appropriate for the patriarchal system, but not appropriate to the the system that uses a balanced divine masculine and feminine. Hierophant is the appropriate one. So it is a revealer of the holy. Well, that is Sagittarius. Okay, so Sagittarius, when we read about the sign Sagittarius, we see that it says knowledge is the key to these folks, since it fuels their broad-minded approach to life. Those born with a Sagittarius zodiac sign are keenly interested in philosophy and religion and travel. They find that these disciplines aid their internal quest. At the end of the day, what Sagittarius wants to know most is the meaning of life. Sagittarius' connection to travel, higher knowledge, and truth-seeking stem from the Centaur's race's questing attributes, yet mostly from Chiron, who is the kindest, most generous, and friendly to humans of all the centaurs, right? So Chiron. And if you get the, I'm using the Wizards Tarot deck, and they actually use the correct image for the Hierophant, right? Kind of. We'll talk about that. But yeah, Chiron, right? Chiron actually should have human front legs, but that's okay. So Chiron is the progenitor of the Sagittarian Hierophant. So let's look at Chiron. Okay. The Sagittarius zodiac symbol of the centaurs based on the Greek mythological association with Chiron, the great teacher of music, medicine, hunting, and prophecy. Chiron healed the hero Achilles. And mentored him in archery and many other great arts when he cared for him as a child. Achilles later grew up to be victorious in the Trojan War, likely having learned to be brave and clever while under the tutelage of this benevolent centaur. Although a centaur, Chiron's physical appearance was often differs somewhat from other centaurs, demonstrating his status and heritage. In traditional Greek representations of Chiron, his front legs are human rather than equine. This is in contrast to the traditional representation of centaurs, which have the entire lower body of a horse. This clearly sets Chiron apart from the other centaurs, making him easily identifiable. This difference may also have highlighted Chiron's unique lineage, being the son of Cronus, the youngest and ruler of the Titans. So let me get a picture out here. I've got two different classical pictures of Chiron that demonstrate this. So let's see. So here's one, and you can see that he has a human front legs, and then the other half of his body is the horse, right? But he's got the human front legs, and this is to show that his father was an immortal god named Kronos, a Titan actually. Not Kronos, which is the god of time, and actually an early elemental force, like kind of a proto god. That's CHRONOS, and Kronos is CRONUS. So Kronos is equal to Saturn, right? And was overthrown by Zeus. So Saturn is the father of Chiron, and which is why he has the legs of a man to demonstrate his godly heritage, and then the back half of a horse, because his mother was a nymph, to show his more kind of earthly, bestial nature, which is a metaphor for his human half, right? So half god, half human, or earthly, bestial. Yeah, so Chiron, his front legs are human rather than equine. This is in contrast to the traditional representation of centaurs, which have the entire lower body of a horse. This clearly sets Chiron apart from the other centaurs, making him easily identifiable. And then, let's see, Chiron was notable throughout Greek mythology for his youth-nurturing nature, his personal skills. So he was a teacher, a way shower. His personal skills tend to match those of his foster father, Apollo, who taught the younger centaur the art of medicine, herbs, music, archery, hunting, gymnastics, and prophecy, and helped him rise above his beastly nature, a metaphor for humans. Chiron was known for his knowledge and skills with medicine, and thus was credited with the discovery of botany and pharmacy, the science of herbs and medicine. Unfortunately, Chiron was pierced with an arrow belonging to Heracles, which is the Greek version of Hercules. Hercules is Latin, Heracles is Greek, that had been treated with the blood of the Hydra. Ironically, Chiron, the master of healing arts, could not heal himself. So the blood of the Hydra was such a potent poison that it should have killed him. But because he was immortal, he couldn't die. However, he couldn't cure the poison either, because the poison was so deadly. You can't cure it. So this is where the story of the unhealed healer, or the unhealed wound for Chiron is, right? So Chiron went on this great journey to attempt to figure out how to heal himself. He never did. He never did figure out how to heal himself. But in his journey and through his learnings, he brought in a plethora of medicine that helped many other people. So his striving was not gone to waste. It didn't go to waste. It helped all these other people, but he couldn't heal himself. But he was suffering constantly, and he was immortal. So what Chiron did was he willingly gave up his immortality in exchange for the life of Prometheus. So Prometheus was the Titan that stole fire from Apollo, stole fire from the gods, which is that's a metaphor for technology, right? Because fire is still to this day our greatest technology that we have. Knowing how to create and use fire intentionally was the foundation of our entire civilization and technology to date. So for his transgression, the gods chained him to a rock. Zeus chained Prometheus to this rock on this mountain face, and every morning this eagle would come down. It was actually Zeus, because the eagle represents death, and Zeus, as the chief god, also represents death as one of his manifestations. The eagle comes down, tears out his liver, and eats it. Prometheus dies, but then, because he's also immortal, is reborn the next day. So it's this never-ending torture that he has to go through. So Chiron petitions Zeus to exchange places with Prometheus. In doing so, Zeus says, well, you have to give up your immortality. Chiron agrees to give up his immortality, exchanges places with Prometheus. Prometheus gets to go free, and when the eagle comes down and eats Chiron's liver, because he's given up his immortality, he finally gets to die and is released from his immortal suffering, right? For his noble sacrifice, the gods raised him up to the heavens, and he became the constellation of Sagittarius. So that's where we get Sagittarius. It's from Chiron's journey, his spiritual journey, right? This is the whole idea of the fiery archer of Sagittarius. He's shooting that fire arrow into the dark to lead his way out of ignorance and into greater knowledge, right? So that is the spiritual journey. It's the beginning of the spiritual journey. Now, when you go and you look on the web and you do a search as to whether Chiron became Sagittarius or the constellation Centaurus, there's some confusion about that. There are a lot of people that aren't sure which one it was. So I'm here to tell you that it was definitely the constellation Sagittarius. And there's an important clue as to why. So when you go and you read, and people will say, well, Sagittarius is sometimes the symbol Sagittarius, the astrological symbol, is sometimes shown as the centaur, sometimes shown as the human archer. Well, here we see that out of all the centaurs, Chiron was shown as a human. His front half of his body was human, fully human, and only the back half was equine. So you can see, when you cover him up, he looks like a human. Or he can be a centaur. And you see his bow here, and he's always shown with this staff full of hairs that he's hunted with his bow. So same with this picture. You know, you see his hunting, and he was hunting with the arrow, and that's why, as he was teaching Hercules to hunt with the arrow, you know, at some point Hercules accidentally shot him with the poisoned arrow, and causing his unhealable wound. Right? So yes, Sagittarius, which is sometimes shown as the human archer, sometimes shown as the centaur, is Chiron. Whereas Centaurus, which is always shown as a centaur, represents centaurs in general. So that's the clue that tell us that Chiron is Sagittarius and is the Hierophant. All right. And it's interesting because a lot of people, when they talk about the Hierophant, or they talk about Sagittarius, they talk about, you know, the energies of the spiritual journey, the spiritual seeker, but also the mentor and teacher, and all of these things. And when they talk about the Hierophant, a lot of times they'll talk about that too. Right? Some people, they're very, they only talk about the Hierophant as societal norms, rules, those kinds of things. But does that match any zodiac sign? It certainly doesn't match Sagittarius. Sagittarius is all about breaking away from societal norms and rules. And that's necessary because Sagittarius has to break away from all the regular societal norms and conventions and rules in order to go on the very personal spiritual journey. Sagittarius has to do that, right? So it's a perversion. The idea that the Hierophant actually represents that as a perversion of the whole idea of the spiritual seeker going on their spiritual journey and eventually becoming the way shower and the teacher as well. So, well, that knocks out, if the Hierophant goes to Sagittarius, then that knocks Temperance out of Sagittarius. Right? Temperance doesn't belong there. This has nothing to do with the Sagittarian energy. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So where does that go? Well, in my next video, we'll talk about how Temperance actually goes to Aquarius, and I'll explain all of that. So stay tuned, and until next time, have a great evening, a great week, a great whatever, and I will talk to you later. Thank you.